streaming. I'm sitting down again because I don't know what I did yesterday. I mean, I ran 22 miles on a trail and fell. But I don't know why my ankle was still swollen this morning. So I rescheduled my doctor's appointment for tomorrow, and they'll probably tell me I'm not allowed to do something, and then I won't listen. Don't do what I do. Be different. Okay, today we're learning about clicks. Why did I press function F12? I don't know why I did that. Anyone have anything on the homework that was interesting you want to discuss? Any thoughts? Are the vibes good? They seem like at best they'd be okay. It's like cloudy, so the vibes can only be so good, right? Yeah.
I feel like that increases the vibe if anything.
Okay. The vibe. You did suggest death for Wordle, but is death not just the beginning of the next step, right? Okay, so let's click it. Is it the 8th of October? Am I telling lies?
Nope.
Wow. I never in a million years would have guessed today is the 8th of October. I would have gone for 7 or 9. Problem set for graphics is due Monday, October 13th at midnight. That's not true. It's due slightly before midnight. Because if I say at midnight, no one knows what day it is. Probably you all have looked at that. Maybe you're not done yet. I didn't think that one was too exciting. You'll have fun with it. Sections today and tomorrow. Go to your sections. Someone's been spreading vicious rumors that these sections are optional. That's not true. I am required to require you to go to sections. That's how required they are. They're double required. So go to your sections. Don't get me in trouble. Don't get you in trouble. Let's have no trouble. Cool. So today, graphics window. We're just teaching graphics. We're gonna graphic everything. It's going to be extremely graphic. That's what you can say. Okay. And we're gonna do events, and then there's this kind of idea of the computer remembering something you told it. And there's a few ways to call that. One of them is state. So the computer is in some state. So I could be in a state of confusion, or I could be in a good mental state, right? Computers can also be in states. There's also attributes. So I can have the attribute of being registered to vote with a certain party. I can have the attribute of residing at a certain address. Computers can also have attributes. And then there's also fields. When I fill out a medical intake form, there's fields on there, and I fill out the last time I consumed an alcoholic beverage, which was never because I'm straight edge. Okay, and so on. So let's just quickly review how graphics works, and I hope this works because this is not actually running in Python. This is running in the other language, JavaScript. But my understanding is when you grect, what you have is you have an x and y coordinate of the top left corner. And then, what did I click? I'm in Narnia. And then you have a width and you have a height. So, let's reason through this quickly. So, my default values here, that I just had to assign default values to make this slide. I have an x value of 150. This thing's 400 by 400. I didn't tell you that, but I always do 400 by 400, right? It was just going to clear. So I think that means through the middle of this is 200 by 200. So I think an x of 150 is going to be a horizontal displacement of slightly less than half. So I think x of 150 is around here. Y of 150 is 1/8 of the way down this screen, which I don't really want to eyeball it, but I'm guessing it's around here. A width of 200 means that I'm going to go from here over to almost the edge, so it'll be in this area. And then a height of 100 will be 1/4 of the height, so I think there's going to be a box around here. Do you all see that? Do you believe me? Okay. You can do that. So sometimes what happens is students are like, how do you know what numbers to put in grect, right? You will all think this at some point, right? Because it's very easy to think this, right? You can do what I just did. I narrated it in front of you. You understand it. It's the same idea. You know what each of the 4 numbers means. You can look at a canvas, or you can go to a whiteboard. If you're in Ford's second floor, everyone does the big glass things down there, right? So you can do the same thing I did. I'm just drawing it on my screen with a mouse, and I think it's around here. Let's do graphics. Let's see how wrong we are. That's pretty good. I think I probably had my mouse a little bit too far over here. But that's approximately correct, right? So there you go. I don't know why there's a semicolon there. That's kind of funny. But in fact, your code will work if you just put a bunch of semicolons in it. So if you just put a semicolon at the end of every line, somehow this will still work. I don't think you can put it on the import line. But there you go. So you're allowed to put semicolons, just don't. I suspect that I was teaching a language with semicolons at the same time as I was teaching or making this slide, and that's what happened there. Okay. So here is, I think, where we left off last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, just ask questions if anything doesn't make sense. But I think you know all this stuff, right? We've done this a little bit. So if we take this block of code, and I'm just going to go over to VS Code. I'm going to sort of declutter my screen a little bit here. Wow, how many terminals do I have open? Okay. So what do we have? From Piggle, we're getting everything. Really, we're only going to use Gwindo and grect, but we want to have everything in case we need it. We're going to set the width of the window equal to 400. That's too small. I'm actually going to change this over to 800 just so it's a little bit easier to see on my screen. And then we're going to define what happens when we want to do graphics, right? And we're going to create a Gwindo that's W by W. And then we're going to create a grect. This is kind of smaller, so I'm just going to double all of these. I'm just going to do it manually because they're not defined relative to anything. We're going to set it to be filled. We're not going to set the color to be blue. The official color of this class, for some reason, is olive drab. I know. You see, all of you on this side of the room, if you yelled over them, then you could have chosen the color, right? But they're so aggressive, they bullied us into liking olive drab, the official color of pants in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Well, our official olive drab enthusiast is not here, which is what we said.
We'll have to get a replacement olive drab enthusiast.
I love olive drab.
I was going to be the replacement olive drab enthusiast. Okay, so we select our mandatory favorite color, olive drab. You're allowed to select other colors. I think the competing favorite color with this is pink, and I don't remember if it was pink or hot pink.
It was hot pink.
It was hot pink? Fair enough. Okay. So, unfortunately, I like hot pink better than olive drab, and I'm the one teaching the class. Okay, so this is the official color of crop tops in the Pacific Northwest, so that's how you tell them apart. Okay, and then we're going to GWA. What's this? That's the graphics window. We're going to add the rectangle, okay? And then, after we define all of this, we're going to do graphics. And what happens if we remove any one of these steps? Well, there's our rectangle. If we don't add the rectangle, it doesn't show up. If we don't hot pink the rectangle, I'm guessing it's going to be either black or white. It's black. If we don't fill the rectangle, we get the outline, and it's very hard to see, right? I don't know how well you can see that. I basically can't see it on my screen because I turned the brightness all the way down because those electrons aren't free, right? The water cycle had to run to generate the hydroelectric power that is powering my screen right now, right? And the water cycle, they call it that because it's not a cycle that's infinite. Okay. If we don't create a rectangle, now these things are going to throw errors. See all my squiggles that popped up? That's because there's no rectangle to change, okay? Ooh, I'm in big trouble, right? The name rect is not defined, okay? And then the last thing I can comment out is if I don't have a graphics window, I'm still allowed to create the rectangle, but I can't add it to anything. So this is all allowed, but I can't put it anywhere, okay? And then the last and most obvious thing perhaps to comment out is what if I just never say do graphics? What if I just define this function and then don't run it? Well, then nothing happens, but there's nothing wrong with the code. Okay, so I would encourage you to think about your code line by line and know what each line is doing. One way to do that is start with my code and take lines out and put them back in. Another way is to write your code one line at a time. And that's how you get pretty pink. Right? Oh, I should have made it a pink pony, but I don't know how to make ponies. Okay, so that's how we do graphics. Okay, G pony. Let's just throw it in there and see what happens. I want it. Well, I don't know how to spell pony. Pony. Okay, that's not it. We can make a G pony. We can make a Goval. That's close. Ponies are basically ovular, right?
Yeah.
I can't actually tell this is not a pony. Okay, I'm not going to make a pony right now, but we could make like a pony out of ovals, right?
Yeah.
That could be, it's what Chapel Roan would do. Okay. So I was doing a competing formulation, which is that, hey, every time I want to make a rectangle, I have to do all of these things, so why don't I put this in its own function? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this function inside of doGraphics. Why is that? This is weird. This should seem weird to you. You all should have asked me as soon as I did that. So I'm going to write def do rectangle. And what's this going to do? All the, let's see, is it Alt Shift? First try. Okay. Why did I do this inside of doGraphics? Well, I'm going to refer to GW, so somehow I have to be able to know where GW is. If we're inside of the same function, we can refer to the same variables, right? So this is doRect is a function inside of a function, so it can see GW. Otherwise, we can pass GW as an argument. That's also fine. I'm going to show both of those things quickly. But the first thing I'm going to do is change this to x, y, width, height, and I'm going to change this to color, and I'm going to provide x, y, width, height, color. Then I'm going to create my window, and then I'm going to do rect 300, 150, 100, 200 or something like that. It was wider than it was tall, so it has to be 200, 100. And then we're going to hit it with the hot pink. That's way too small. So I don't know what it... It was 400 and 200? That is kind of what it looked like, yeah, okay. Now, what happens if I define doRect outside of doGraphics? No problem, I'll show you. First of all, this is extremely illegal. This is very against the law. Why is this against the law? There's this thing here. This thing is too indented if it's not inside of a function. So we have to get rid of that outer indentation level. Okay, I've now successfully defined doRect, but I still have squiggles here, right? And so if I run this, what's going to happen? GW is not defined. There's a few ways to solve this. I can provide GW as an additional argument. That's allowed. That's not against the law. Oops. Syntax error or something. What? So, trash can. This is allowed. That's a lot of arguments. Maybe you don't want to use that many. It's up to you. Do whatever you want. You're an adult, okay? Does it make sense why I would need 6 arguments for one function creating one rectangle? Right, they got sides, they got colors, they got this, they got that, right? A rectangle is a relatively complicated thing. I could get even more annoying, and I could make one of these functions that's do shape, and you also say if you want a rectangle or an oval. That would be very annoying, so I'm not going to do that. But I could do that. You can't stop me because I'm also an adult, right? Okay, so let's do this, and let's make red and blue rectangles. So we're going to try and make this thing. Let's do this with our favorite colors, pink and olive drab. Why do we pick? Oh, those colors don't go together. Okay. Me. I just said it. I thought that was self-explanatory. I always pair my hot pink crop tops with a black pant with like a wide leg, right? Maybe it's a Salem thing? I'm just inverting these. Look, it's art, right? Does that look like art to you?
Those do kind of go together.
See?
They actually do go together. I didn't think they were going to do that, right? I can admit when I'm wrong. I wasn't wrong in this case, but if I were wrong, I would be able to admit it. I kind of want the pink on top of the olive.
To be the crop top to our olive drab pants, you could say.
Yeah, that's what we could say. Wow, that was so hard to do. Okay. Trash can. They don't call it the trash cannot, folks, right? Were all you around for the Yes We Can era? That would have been 2008. You were like 5.
Watching Bob the Builder.
No, that was Obama.
Oh.
Okay, sorry, it's time for a history lesson. Obama, I can't spell. Yeah.
It's a song.
Wait, no, hold on. If I click that link, I'm getting banned forever on YouTube. Transcript of Barack Obama's victory speech. Yes, yeah, there, look! Yes, we can. Not Bob the Builder. President Barack Obama. They're frequently confused. Okay. We use a function like myrect to be factoring. So here's the best example I can come up with. In math class, and I don't know what they do in math class anymore. Do y'all do Common Core? Some of you? I don't know how math's taught. When I learned math, they were just like, this is the zero product property, good luck. So anyways, this is 2x squared plus 4x, which is something that I could like graph on the board. And you can factor out the x, because both of these terms are multiplied by x, 2x times 2x plus 4. If you don't like math, don't worry about it. This is just where the term factoring comes from. So we're factoring out what happens to x, but instead of factoring out what happens to x, we're factoring out what happens to rect, right? So if you set rect equal to something, and then you set it filled, and then you set its color, and then you add it, well, you can remove all of that stuff and put it inside a single function, do rect, and then you can just say, hey, I want a rect that does these things, right? So that's why this is called factoring. Why do you do this? Because it would be prohibitively horrible to write all of this code twice in here, right? We would all hate that. Everyone would hate that. Would you hate that? Would you hate that? Yeah, right. So we got a lot of haters, right? And since the haters are on the prowl, we're going to outsmart them by factoring our code, right? Do haters prowl? I guess they more just like are.
I feel like they can be on the problem, though.
They can
It
be.
depends on the nature of the hater.
Anything can be on the prowl, depending on the nature of the thing. Okay, we're going to add excitement. We all love excitement. I think usually I say the term dynamism and then like try and do a lightning emoji. But what we're going to do is this graphics window is boring. Oh, it's so boring. And why is it boring? Because when I click on it, nothing happens. I like to click on things and have things happen, right? So yeah, I come over here and start clicking, nothing happens. But oh, if I click down here, stuff happens, right? So that's more exciting. But there's nowhere on this graphics window I can click to make anything happen other than for it to go away. So I'm going to solve that problem by introducing this thing called Add Event Listener. This is a link to somewhere. I would advise you to avoid reading this documentation at all costs. It is ludicrously confusing, but it does exist. So instead of telling you to read that documentation, I'm going to give you an example of how to make something happen when you click, okay? You have seen event listeners before, and specifically so you saw it with the enter action on Wordle and both of the midterms. We sort of hand-waved it then. We're going to make it a little more exciting, because when we get to the breakout, the next assignment, we're going to want you to be able to, like, move the mouse and click or something. I don't know. We'll get there. So we're going to introduce the click action today. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to write a function that runs when we click. So I'm just going to take this code right here, and I'm going to put it in VS Code. Now, usually, when I did something like this, I would live code it in front of you. I would type each thing. This code wasn't created by trying to type in live code. This code was created by me trying to figure out what someone else was doing. So I'm just giving you what I found. This is not too new. We're creating a graphics window. I am going to bump us up to 800 by 800. Then what are we going to do? We're going to add an event listener. This is the same as add enter action, but it's less specific. We have to say what kind of action we're looking for. We're specifically looking for a click action. I find it extremely stressful that this is just a string that means click, because what if I put like mouse here? I don't know what happens, right? So just trust that it needs to be click there, and we found out it was click by looking at other people's code that worked, right? You don't necessarily see that code. I'm just having to give this to you. For the sake of having a name, I'm going to create a function called click function. Click function somehow you're supposed to figure this out, is supposed to take an argument called e. And we're just going to print e and look at it. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to run this code, and what's going to happen? We just opened the graphics window, nothing's going on, right? Now when I click this, some code is going to run. So I'm going to click, and what code ran? This code right here. We printed out whatever e is, which is apparently a pgl.gmouse event. And there might be more than one of them, so this is starts with 7.9 and ends with 1.0. That's a different one. It still starts with 7.9, but it ends with 4.0. And if I click over here, there's different ones. Okay, so this is how we figure out where someone is clicking in the graphics window. Well, this isn't very exciting yet. What can we do with this? And I don't know what to do with it, right? So I went and I looked at code that other people wrote that worked, and I sort of just figured it out. So here's what I did. I said, well, somehow I found out that E has something inside of it called get X and get Y. So I'm going to look at the X and Y that are returned from whatever E is. We're using E to refer to the idea that it's an event, but it isn't meaningful that we call it E. We just had to call it something. We could call it a click. We could call it a mouse. So I'm going to say what X is equal to, and I'm going to say what Y is equal to. I'm getting rid of these spaces because I think 2 spaces will show up otherwise. We'll see what happens. So we're going to trash can. We're going to run this code again. What's going on here? Same thing as last time. We have our window. But now when I click, I'm going to print out something slightly different. Now, a few things could happen here. If I did my homework wrong, this get X and get Y aren't going to work. They're not going to do anything, and I'm going to get some kind of error, right? But I didn't get squiggles under them. And I'm saying you can trust me. Your mileage may vary, right? But I'm going to go ahead and click the window. Now, before I click the window, in case I get back X and Y coordinates, I'm going to try and click in a place where I can tell which one's X and which one's Y. So I'm going to click in one of these 2 corners. So I think the top is the X, or like my distance from the left side is the X value. So I think this is about X 800 over here. And I think my Y value is the distance from the top of the screen. So I think this is about Y 800 over here. So I'm going to try and go to 600, 200, and click there and see what I get back. That's interesting. They both end in 85. But I suspect that means I'm 585 units from here and 185 units from there. Let's check a few other places. I'm going to click all the way up here, and I think I'm going to get to very small numbers. I don't know how small they'll be, probably both under 10. We got 6 and 4. And I think both of the things over here will be over 790. They're not quite. I didn't get as close as I thought I did. Can I get a little closer? Ooh, this is scary. I don't want to click off the screen. There you go. So that's pretty tight. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get 100, 400, which I think will be around here somewhere. Let's see. Do I think that's 1/8 of the screen and half the screen? Okay. So I think the X and Y that are inside this E are giving me the X value is the distance from the left side of the screen, and the Y is the distance from the top of the screen. This tells me some information. What can I do with this? Here's a demo if you don't have the code working on your own. Okay. So what I can do here is I probably should have saved my rect function, which I think I can do. Let's see. Did I have it in here somewhere? There it is. There's do rect. Okay. So I'm going to kill this terminal. Now let's look at what we have. I grabbed back my do rectangle function, and you can get it from the slides if you need it, or you can type it in. I don't need width. I'm importing from Piggle, and I'm just printing things out. I'm just going to run this code real quick and make sure it works. Yeah, it's printing something out. Okay. So what's something I can do here? Well, let's add a rectangle at the, let's see, do I have to provide, what else do I have to provide? It needs the GW. It needs an X and Y value. And I'm going to use these X and Y values. So we're going to save these. X equals E.getX. y equals e dot get y. I'm going to show you something and ask if you like this or not. I can do this in one line. Do you hate that or do you like that? That it's bad? Not to worry, it's gone. I made it disappear.
They both look the same.
Nope, we already voted. You should have stuffed the ballot box if you wanted to win. Or, you should have campaigned. You should have donated to a super PAC. Okay. So we'll print out the x and y values. I'm going to create a rectangle at x, y. I'm going to make it 100 by 100, and I'm going to make it green. Do you think there's a lime green?
There is lime green.
There's lime green?
I know because I was messing around with it last night.
Excellent. One of the best ways to know is to have someone have checked it for you and just tell you the answer. Okay. No errors yet. That's a good sign. But so far we've only done this thing. Now we have also added an event listener, but nothing has ever happened in ClickFunc. Now, ClickFunc is going to figure out these x and y values, it's going to print them out, and then it's going to throw a rectangle there. So I'm going to click someplace, and I think a rectangle is going to show up. Now, before I do this, I think the rectangle is going to be about as wide and as tall as 1/8 of the screen of my graphics window, because I said 100 by 100. And I think the rectangle is going to extend down and to the right from where my cursor is, because the XY location is going to be the upper left corner of the rectangle. That was not as lime as I was expecting. I kind of wanted a little more lime than that. So there's, and I think like, I don't know how visible it is, but that's basically lined up with the cursor. So it's quite precise. Let's go do another one. Oh. And this is how MS Paint was invented, by the way. That's not true, I'm telling lies. Don't listen to me. But now, we can do things like create emojis. Look, it's a smiley face, right? So now, for the first time in this class, you're allowed to be happy.
Yay!
Yay! Can you see anything from there? Okay, just checking.
Can you remind me why you have to have graphics window as a argument?
I think I actually don't here. Let's see what happens. And the reason I think I don't here is because it's defined out here. So I think I can see that graphics window.
But in the do rec.
5 positional argument. Oh, let's get rid of this. My advice is don't hope it makes sense. Just like do things that might work, and if they don't work, change them.
Okay.
Look, it's a smiley face. This is how I feel on the inside right now. Oh no, I also have a nose. Okay.
I feel like I have a nose.
I often feel like I have a nose. Okay. So, we can demonstrate that over here as well. Oh, I did it with pink. Oh, I actually like pink way more than hot pink. Okay. Now, as you know, the haters are on the prowl. And what do the haters always say? The haters always say, why can't you center the rectangle on where I clicked, right? This is often something my haters say to me. They're like, your rectangles are off center. What's wrong with you, right? We've all heard this before. We understand, right? So, not to worry, I have a plan. This rectangle is 100 by 100. I also want it to be an oval, so I'm just going to change this to an oval. I'm not going to tell anyone. So I changed that to an oval. We're changing this back to pink because I thought pink looked better. But if I want it to be centered on where I click, and it extends 100 in every direction, I'm just going to offset it by 50. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to start this 50 to the left. That's your left. This is my left. And so I'm going to move the rectangle over by 50 by subtracting from x. I'm also going to move it down by, you know what, let's demonstrate what happens if we add 50, right? Let's go ahead and save this and run it. I click, and we see The oval is vertically centered on the cursor and horizontally displaced by 100 units. So we just change this plus to a minus, and instead of adding 50 to the distance from the top of the screen, it's going to subtract 50 from the distance to the top of the screen, and it's going to place it directly on the cursor. Trash can. Boom. Smiley face. Look how happy we are. Aw, we're so happy. Maybe we even have a little hat. This graphics window is extremely laggy. I'm clicking like 30 times a second. This actually looks like a spider?
That's
A clam?
clam with legs.
A clam with legs?
Clam on a tripod.
A clam on a skateboard. I can't draw a skateboard. There's no way I can draw a skateboard. This kind of looks like Santa Claus Cthulhu. This is what I'm getting, right? Like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like if you were Davy Jones and also gave the children presents, right? We've all been there. Presumably. Let's demonstrate here. Centered. Okay. Those are events. As Pez. Now, there's one problem you should probably be thinking of, which is, wait a minute. What if I want exactly one circle that moves, and I don't want to create a new circle every time, right? This is an obvious thing to think, right? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. For sure. And we do that by we have the graphics window remember about something that we put in it. Okay, so this is called an attribute or field, and it's an attribute or field of the graphics window. So we say the graphics window has perhaps its own square or its own oval, right? So, no problem. I have a plan. And my plan is to check the code I already wrote because this seems confusing. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's see. Yeah, let's just follow along. Okay, so we're going to create something called box inside the G window. Okay, so where are we going to do that? We're probably going to do that before our click action. So we're going to say there's something called gw.box, and it's going to equal this rectangle, which is now an oval. We're going to call it dot. Okay. And what values do I need to put in here? Let's just put in 100, 100, 100, 100. Okay. We're going to get rid of these things for now. Okay. And so what's going to happen when I run this code? Well, right now, nothing. The only thing that's happening is I'm getting this click function back. So that's all I'm getting for now. I'm no longer creating new rectangles or ovals and putting them on the screen. But this GW dot thing is kind of interesting. And maybe we should play around with it a little bit. So we can use set location x, y. And so what am I going to do here? I'm going to change this to say GW, the graphics window. I put a dot inside the graphics window. So that it's the dot that belongs to the graphics window. And then I'm going to set its location to x and y. Okay? And what's going to happen there? Absolutely nothing, because I still didn't add the dot to the graphics window, right? Not to worry, it's fine. So what are we going to do? We're going to gw.add. We're going to take the graphics window, and it has something in it called add, which puts things inside the graphics window. Or perhaps we shouldn't say put them inside the graphics window, but now it displays them in the graphics window. And we're going to display the dot, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to head to trash can, which I should have done already. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the circle, right? This is not a particularly good looking oval, but we can work on it. And I'm going to click, and it's going to move the oval because it's updating its location. Click, click. We can do some other things. GW dot set filled, maybe true. Do Do we put true there? Apparently true is capitalized in Python, which I knew. I was just checking to see if you knew that. Boom, 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 following us around. And then let's make this a little more fun by subtracting 50 from each of these so we're centered. And then I'm going to use a little trick. I don't want the dot to show up until I click somewhere. So I'm going to put these things in Narnia by putting them at the location 10,000 or 1,000. Doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and trash can. Press play. That's against the law. Oh, there's too many hundreds. Okay. There we go. No visible dot, but I promise there's a dot in the graphics window, just not in the portal that we see, because it moves over to my cursor when I click. Isn't this, are you all having fun yet?
Yeah.
We can no longer make smiley faces, by the way. And this is a good thing you can do. So I'm going to slowly drag my finger across the window, and I'm going to click the whole time, and we can see how fast its update rate is, which is not as fast as you can probably hear me clicking. And this is why video games are bad. Look. Oh, it's lag. Oh, it's not a skill issue. I'm lagging. I'm lagging. Okay. Sorry, I'm done. Okay. Anyways, if you ever are bad at a video game, blame lag. Yes.
How does click function know what dot is if you have to define it?
So, click function knows the name of GW dot because it knows GW. So it can look inside GW and it can see GW dot. Oh, one more. It can see the G oval. I think it can also do this if you don't put it in GW. There's a reason you have to put it in GW in Breakout, and I don't remember what the reason is. Does this work? This also works. So you can either put it in GW. Somehow you just have to have some way to be able to refer to the dot. And that's the same as if I put anything else out here. So the GW and the dot are both things that exist sort of in the file. And if I write the function inside the file, it can see things that are described in the file, the same way as if I put English words in here. And then I can also print, for example, I'll just print all of English words. This seems like a reasonable thing to do. And there they are. It's the same thing. Getting rid of this, getting rid of that. Okay. There we go. To my knowledge, this is the minimum possible example. I would bookmark this page. It is slide 17 in Click. I'm going to see if I can put it in Discord real quick. It's gotten a lot harder to use Discord since they put a Final Fantasy XIV monster inside Monster Hunter World, because now all my friends are asking me for help with it. But if they were really my friends, they wouldn't need my help, would they? Right? Okay. What is my screen doing? Look at that. That's terrible. Okay. Okay. Click. Same thing. Okay. I think that's all. So what I would like you to do now is I would like you to be working on the graphics problem set and asking me questions as you encounter them. I am specifically anxious about helping you on the graphics problem set because I don't know a better way to teach this to you than to just give you this code and tell you it works. And that stresses me out. I would like you, generally speaking, to be able to figure things out by trying things and following along with examples in class. This is a lot of lines of code, and most of them are poorly explained in my view. So I want you to just feel comfortable with this. Now, on some level, it makes sense that things work like this. We could argue for them making sense, right? So you will probably get an intuitive sense for it over time as you try it. But this is just too much weird stuff, right? and you even have to scroll down to see all of the weird stuff. So go ahead and make sure you get this working and ask me questions if you don't understand it, and we'll go from there. Does anyone have any questions for the full class before I get up and try and walk around without falling over because my ankle is swollen, and asking you how you're doing? All right, get cracking. And not like the Kraken. Oh, it's a crypto exchange now? That's so sad. It could be a legendary sea monster of enormous size. Okay. Oh dear. Oh, I have no idea what any of your names are anymore.
Getting started right now.
What is this style of your necklace called? I don't know how to do that in Google. So then I saw one in the black and I was like, this works on it. Yeah, it's like it's a dangly necklace. Why should I hate when it goes down to last.
You just culturally appropriate them.
Yeah, just be a Catholic Satanist. There's dozens of us. Probably. Oh, no, I'm just definitely a Catholic Satanist. Alright. Is it non-kilometer? Okay, perfect. Because I don't recognize legitimacy of kilometer. Do you think anything to make miles?
Yes.
Cool. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Any questions? Your name has any
Yes.
Are you like a math major?
Yeah.
Like,
You get like nuts. You know, like start making music.
I've never read them. They just show up in my inbox. I think read them if you want.
I wouldn't know what the things. I would. It would be.
I read the emails because I like love and I like Ash, so it's very hard.
You're all math majors.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was also.
You're also math majors? So this is like math part?
Yeah.
That's why there's so much participation.
Yeah. Henry's also. The ginger.
Henry the Ginger. Thanks.
Sorry. I do have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If I were to check if a click was in a certain like distance, would I just like hit click in these coordinates, or
Not really. You have to do the X, Y, I.
okay?
You can ask if the X, Y, I range.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, now we start with the next. You start with the C. Oh, 5 letters. Okay. And Chloe doesn't start with the A. That's a vicious line spread by our enemies. You're also a math major.
That's what I was just
Okay.
Actually, that's really cool.
Yeah, right. That's really sweet. Fun fact. When I was double majoring in math and economics, I additionally but I didn't recognize. How are you doing with graphics? I'm fine. That's like very middle of the road.
I've done the things.
You've done it. You have game studies. Yeah, okay.
forgot. I'm actually at a very low ratio. Well, I'm looking to how you can move out. I think you like set. I remember you have to like make the timer and then also make the timer or something. It's in. Is that what you do? Yeah. Yeah, so like you make an animation. Yeah. You put dots in between your name. So like you just write the name, you just write the day. And then you get a capitalized.
I just assumed that you would know.
No, that's just your
Figured it out.
You have a double letter. Yeah. I'm going to do it. Okay. Excuse me. Okay.
Good.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah.
I was trying to put a pen in, but
That's a long game.
yeah.
Someday it's not going to be cool to say log in anymore. We're going to be in trouble. Because it's going to log in. Clock in.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Well, that's when you do too. 50 o'clock.
Yeah.
So now, because now we're doing like interview play and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I hope that's whoever gets jobs.
I have a job right now.
Yeah.
Not like a real job.
Yeah, math intern. Not a real job.
Math intern is litigation of a real job.
Yeah.
It's like being Peter Pan. It's like, oh, it's got to clock in at Neverland. Okay. And then is your job?
That makes this one number then, because this is really that. So I'm
All
also.
emails and stuff are sent from
That's the first letter.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. I clock in both of this group.
L,
And
L-A-H. Okay. How you doing? Good. I'm really struggling.
Because I also want to understand what like the pyramid is supposed to do. I mean, I'm just a little worried about like having like a loop because it's like, oh, it's similar to the asterisk problem, but that one's working with strings and this is working with graphics, so it's different. So I mean, I hope we'll figure it out, but it's just
Real biggest difference from the strange graphics is trying to change the vertical. So you have to manually change vertical graphics. So somehow instead of just saying frame and going to the next line, they'll probably have to have a line running. That's the biggest change.
if it's in the graphics window, do you need to use print?
But so like GWAD is like kind of a new program, right?
Can I put GW add and then make it
And let me know.
Recovering. My average is low. How you doing right now? Chris Graphics.
Oh, that looks great. Yeah. So many circles. Very good. Thanks for coming.
I don't know what he does. I just hear his name. Yeah. I'm joking. I think he's a super good. I'm just joking.
Oh wow, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, he was in super good.
I will consider you supernatural and hope it's otherwise. Oh my gosh, there's so much chaos. There's someone named Grace Allen. You also know Grace. Grace. Last name is Paul. Okay. Oh, maybe that's right. That's what Grace is. Nice name of mine. Okay, there we go. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Okay. Yes. Oh, there's at least we know where it is. Okay. So Grace, how you doing? Actually, we should have a huge advantage. We should share the first 4 letters of correct. No. Yeah. Okay. It's working well for you. Your last name? Jake, right? James. James. I remember the last name. Okay, that's strange. But
I'm doing. How are you?
this graphic's working. Or the graphics windows working. Are they popping up?
Yeah, they're starting
You're able
to.
to get the clip to work well.
Yes, during the walkthrough, and I'm just working on the problem 2, getting all that to go.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. I always think your name is Dennis. That's I think your GitHub name. You guys are on that stuff or something. Yeah, so you're right. I don't say that. How do you say it? Yeah, that's great. Also come around. Prepositional arguments? That's why. Okay, Phoebe, the reason to add things to the graphics window is so you can remove them, because otherwise you can't refer to them by name. So on the breakout assignment, there's blocks and you take them away. If you put all of them in the graphics window, then you can ask the graphics window for the object inside of it and then remove it. This is non-obvious, but you'll see it later. The example I'm showing right now is...
I still don't understand why graphic window would be in the argument, like in the things that you would put into the function.
That's if the function is being called somewhere that can't see the graphics window. We can see it here, so it doesn't matter. Here's the example. This is hard to see, but I draw a line from the top corner, and I want to draw a new line, so I have to delete the old line, because I don't know how to move line's location. So I remove that line and then draw a new one. And I do that by storing it inside the graphics window. So there's always just one line named dot. That's how I do it. And so, yeah, that doesn't answer the GW case, but I'll try and think of an example for that later. See you. Oh, no, I don't see you Friday. See you Monday?
Yep.
See you Monday.
See you Monday.
What is other dot py? It's nothing. Okay. Ella. J. Ella J. Chloe. Benjamin. Hannah. There's 2 people in here with 6-letter names. Okay. No, Kaylee also has 6 letters. Rachel. Clara. Jensen. Grace. Not Gracie. That's made up. That's fake news. Edgar. I didn't review names.